Hey there, welcome to the Uplift. We've got a great show for you today, don't we always? We've got a great cast of characters as well, including these. A man in his 70s who decided to go back to college and the dream he fulfilled while studying drama there he is. Another graduate who credits her mother for inspiring her journey to Harvard. What she did to risk her life for her kiddo. Plus, what is a walking school bus? We'll tell you. And what women did in New York City to make sports history 50 years ago. It's something still being done today. All that, plus our most heartwarming videos of the week. You're watching The Uplift. Hey, welcome to The Uplift, the show that lifts you up for at least the next 30 minutes, you and me included. I'm Tony DeCopel. We're going to begin with our most heartwarming videos of the week, starting with this one. 10-year-old Ashton, who is blind, by the way, scared to go down the water slide. In comes his little sister, 6-year-old Ocean. She held his hand, encouraged him to go down the slide, and he ended up loving it. Their mom, Hilda Dunford, said, oftentimes it's Ocean who is the first person to encourage Ashton when he's nervous to try something new, and he had a blast. Love it. All right, now take a close look at our next video when high school graduates in League City, Texas, turned their tassels to the side, as is tradition, and then threw their caps into the air. Wait for it. Caps in the air. Here we go. They're going to throw them. Yes, there's the throw. There they go. So then they go pick up the hats. I didn't know that, but they do. They don't just leave them there. And there's one student in particular that did not run only to pick up his own hat. That's Max there. He's also running around to grab a second cap. Once he found it, he went over to his friend Kai, who happens to be in a wheelchair, and his sister Valerie filmed the whole thing and said what makes it a particularly sweet moment, look at that joyful jog over there, is that Max didn't even know what was so special about what he did. He said he was just getting the cap for his friend. Pretty simple. It's a great video there. All right, now take a look at this next one. It shows 4-year-old Caden Johnson walking into his pre-K graduation. His mom said this video is proof that showing up matters in life, and this is why. Caden, at first, could not see his family. Then as he scanned the crowd, he completely lit up when he saw his parents there in the audience. There's a wave. That video and the message about showing up went completely viral, and you can understand why. All right, we've got another graduation video for you. This one out of Harvard. It shows a recent Harvard grad, Natalie, taking off her cap and gown and putting it on to her mom. She said she did that for all the sacrifices her mom made to get her where she is, graduating from Harvard. It's a sweet gesture, and it went viral. And our Natasha Larno spoke with the graduate, actually, and her mom about the journey that led to that moment.
When Natalie was just a little girl, her mom, Veronica, risked her life crossing the U.S.-Mexico border to offer her daughter a better future. And now, Natalie just crossed the Harvard graduation stage, so she made sure to celebrate her mom's sacrifices on the important day.
It was a spur of the moment kind of thing. I was taking my graduation pictures, and while being there at the library, I thought, wouldn't it be beautiful for me to take my graduation ensemble, which really is the result of all my mom's sacrifices, and placing it on her.
Veronica, who raised Natalie all by herself, made the hard decision to leave her home country to make sure that her daughter could one day have the life she never did.
My mom wakes up from Monday to Friday at 4 a.m. to work at a poultry plant. It's a very physically demanding job. She works 8 to 10-hour shifts. She's always been my biggest inspiration.
Veronica, who grew up with 11 siblings, was raised in a poor rural area of Mexico and didn't have the opportunity to obtain an education beyond middle school.
And that's why, to me, being able to dedicate my cap and gown to my mom, it meant the world. And I'm a firm believer that education is liberation.
Veronica says that seeing her daughter graduate was one of her proudest moments, but she hopes that as Natalie moves forward, she won't ever forget where she came from.
Pues sentí muy bonito porque ella desde que estaba chiquita siempre se esforzaba por sacar buenas calificaciones, por estudiar. Y la pobre sola, ella buscaba becas y le hacía como podía. Siempre salía adelante.
Sí. Y pues siempre inspirada por mi mamá también.
Natalie says that she wants children from immigrant and lower-income households to know that they can, and should, dare to dream to make it to prestigious institutions such as Harvard.
Ella siempre desde muy chiquita me enseñó la importancia de trabajar duro y de echarle ganas, como decimos en México.
You can see more of our viral videos and heartwarming stories on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Uplift News. Coming up, what is the purpose of having mini forklifts at a senior home? You'll find out. And we meet a rescue dog who now gets to help out the people who rescued her. You follow me? Stick around, we'll explain. When you think of the games they play at senior living centers, you might think of checkers, maybe bingo, a little shuffleboard, but the seniors at Carver Senior Living Facility are doing something completely different with mini forklifts. CBS Minnesota's John Lorenston has more.
We've had like huge crowds coming down to watch. You know, we'll cram about 30 people into that room.
At Carver Ridge Senior Living Facility, it's a packed house with a playoff atmosphere.
2, 1, go!
The residents have gathered to cheer on the hometown River Rats, a lean, mean forklift racing team.
Keep our composure and don't panic, and everybody watch out for me. You never know where I'll be.
Every Thursday at 1 o'clock, the River Rats face off virtually against another group of seniors in Minnesota and Wisconsin.
It's very competitive, and you have to really be team-orientated to do this.
They use remote-controlled forklifts to pick up loads and place them around the arena. The first team to deliver all 4 loads to a new location wins the shift.
It's harder than it looks. You got to be seriously aware of whether you want to go forwards or backwards, whether you want to turn left or right.
All while trying not to collide with your teammates.
What I learned in my career was that aging is a team sport.
Dr. Bill Thomas invented the National Forklift Racing League to help seniors exercise hand-eye coordination while building camaraderie. He's tuning in from Ithaca, New York.
A lot of people, when they think about aging and old age, they think about what people can't do. And forklift racing is about what people can do.
Turns out they can do a lot. There is a little bit of senior smack talk, and the crowd goes wild whenever the River Rats come through.
I thought it was, you know, kind of like a fancy shuffleboard, so to speak. But after I got into it, it was really, first of all, fun.
Sure looks fun. All right, our next story gives a whole new meaning to rescue dogs. Emily was rescued by the Sacramento Fire Department, but now she's in a position to help the firefighters. CBS Sacramento's Marley Gintner has the story.
From rescued to rescuer, the newest addition to the Sacramento Fire Department.
Say hi. Say hi.
Is a lab terrier mix that takes her job seriously.
It was a lot of work. When Emily came to us, Emily was a little bit of a wild child. And yet you see here she's able to manage herself and to be down and to be calm and to be able to really resonate that for the firefighters.
She's taught me.
Emily, the department's very first support dog, lives and works with Deputy Chief Mike Taylor.
If your car's broken, you go get it fixed. If your emotions or your mind's broken, you got to go fix it. And this dog's sort of the avenue to the mechanic.
I didn't know that it was okay to feel sad. I just thought that at the time, you suck it up.
It took years for Captain Rich Alamo to face the trauma and stress of being a firefighter.
We come to help you. We're not the ones that need help.
But the support he needed didn't come from a human.
Without my little dog, Macho, he was a little 25-pound Pomeranian. he helped me get through a lot.
Proof a pup can heal the darkest pain. That's why Emily is just the beginning. First responder advocates with Warfighter Overwatch pledged to pay the cost for more support dogs.
Any cost that the dog will incur going forward, we will take care of to make sure that they are there for as long as needed, and as many dogs and as many station houses as we can facilitate.
Firefighters like Captain Alamo, who's now part of the department's first behavioral health unit, getting some special support.
We want to get in there and reduce stress, have those conversations early on, that it's okay to ask for help, and Emily's going to help us get through the door.
Coming up, walking school buses. One Virginia town says they're keeping cars off the road and keeping the community connected, but what exactly are walking school buses? We'll show you. And we'll introduce you to Timothy Brown, who went back to college in his 70s, and an experience from more than 50 years ago helped him graduate. Arlington, Virginia has enlisted walking school buses to help kids get to school. So what are they and how do they help form connections? Our Jan Crawford has the answer.
Hi, Natalia. Hi. The bus is here. Toot toot.
77-year-old Andrea Walker is not your traditional bus driver.
When I heard about this bus thing, I wanted to do it.
But this isn't Walker's bus. She's leading this kind.
Left, right. Okay, guys.
It's called an intergenerational walking school bus. Once a week, senior citizens walk with students to Oak Ridge Elementary in Arlington, Virginia.
The bus is here.
Everyone gets exercise, it keeps cars off the road, and more importantly, connections are made along the way.
Molly, I asked her how did I go and move, the icons on my phone. First, Molly corrected me and said it's apps, not icons. Right.
Arlington thinks there's no other program like it, and they hope to expand it to all county schools this fall.
You just get picked up by a bunch of happy people, and then you get to walk with a bunch of your friends. I mean, what's not to like?
Not a major commitment, but boy, a major impact.
And a major impact on you, how?
I can't tell you how my spirits are up. I can't stop smiling.
Seniors and students starting the day off together, step by step.
All right, we are now going to introduce you to Timothy Brown. He went back to college in his 70s and he decided to major in drama at South Carolina State University. The choice helped make his dream come true. Caitlin O'Kane has the story.
At 73 years old, Vietnam War veteran Timothy Brown decided to go back to college. He found out about a VA program that helps veterans go to school, and he decided to enroll at South Carolina State University, majoring in drama.
Well, yeah, I'm sitting in class with my grandkids. I always told them, hey, you guys are my grandkids. They're in their early 20s, and here I am in my middle 70s. These are my grandkids. But it was a real good. I had no trouble adjusting. They welcomed me very much, and so everything turned out.
For his major, Timothy had to write a play, and a personal experience inspired him.
It's a true story where we actually drove a church bus, which is an old school bus, from Los Angeles all the way to DC for Dr. King's last march. When he finished his speech that day, he came down off of the podium, and we just happened to be in his path. And so we were able to shake his hand, and I took a snapshot of him and my pastor. So it was a rewarding trip and experience, because we never dreamed that we would have this opportunity, to actually shake the man's hand.
Timothy said if he hadn't received the opportunity to go back to school, he might not have put his memory to paper and written a play.
I guess sometimes in life, your dreams actually come true. That's exactly what happened in this case.
This year, at 77 years old, Timothy finished school and received his college degree. But he hopes this isn't the end of the road for his play, which he wants to turn into a real production at the university.
I do believe in my heart that we need to put this out so that the younger generation, the younger folk, can see this and say, okay, our ancestors, some of those in the front of us, actually did a lot of sacrifice so that we could have these freedoms and equality that we have. I feel that if they could actually see that, and you know, if we don't reach but 2 or 3, you know, I think it'll be worth it, just so that they can appreciate what we went through, so that they would have an easier day.
Coming up, 50 years ago, women in New York City made history in the world of sports. What did they do back in 1972 that's still being done today? We'll show you after the break. Stick around. In June of 1972, before Title IX was enacted and sex-based discrimination in sports was outlawed, women in New York City made sports history. And what they did is still going on today. Dana Jacobson has more.
What do you love about running? Well, I love the fact that it gets me away from the trivialities of a day.
75 years old, and Catherine Switzer is still running 40 miles a week. That's because running isn't just something she does, it's a part of who she is.
When did you start running and knowing that it was different for you?
When I was 12, my dad said, you don't want to be a cheerleader in high school. You want people to cheer for you. You should go out and start running and make the field hockey team, which is a new thing in your high school. And I began running every day, and it gave me such a sense of empowerment. And I felt like I had a victory under my belt every day. Nobody could take away from me.
The year was 1959, a time when most young girls weren't encouraged to run or play sports, but rather discouraged.
I remember the milkman coming to my mother and saying, is your little girl okay? I see her out running. And she said, no, she's fine. And my girlfriends who were concerned, you know, you're going to get big legs, you're going to grow hair on your chest, you're never going to have children. All of these myths, they really believed.
People said that to you.
They said that to me.
Running would do that to you.
Doctors said that to me. Definitely my uterus was going to fall out, and I really should be careful. It was so ridiculous.
Switzer's determination to run became front-page news in 1967.
The world's most famous foot race even attracts a leggy lady.
Just 20 years old, she entered the Boston Marathon. At the time, women weren't allowed.
There was nothing about gender on the entry form, and my coach said, you have to enter the race. You don't count if you don't enter the race. And so I entered the race, but I signed my name KV Switzer. That's how I got the bib number. But in the race, with the bib number, the official jumped off the official's bus, furious, screamed at me, get the hell out of my race and give me those numbers, and tried to rip the numbers off of me. My coach couldn't get him away, but my burly boyfriend knocked the official out of the race instead. If I don't finish this race, nobody's going to believe women can do it. So I decided to finish the race, and that changed my life.
And running. 5 years later, in 1972, women were officially allowed to enter the Boston Marathon. The publicity led to more opportunities for women, like the first ever all-women's road race, with Johnson Wax's Crazy Legs Shave Cream the sponsor.
They thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a women's only marathon in Central Park? Well, there are only about 8 of us who could run a marathon.
So Switzer, fellow elite runner Nina Cusick, and Fred Lebo, the founder of the New York City Marathon, came up with the idea of one lap of Central Park, 6 miles or 10,000 meters, the Crazy Legs Mini Marathon. A name also inspired by fashion of the time, the miniskirt.
So the race then became also an emblem of women's equality and feistiness and freedom, because the miniskirt was that emblem, and now we had our very own race.
But not without some challenges.
The biggest challenge was convincing women to come. And
really?
Yes, the biggest challenge was because they maybe jogged a mile or 2 a day, but now this was 6 miles, and that really scared them. We sent out so many entries. We had 78 women show up, and
was that huge. At the time? I was going to say, at the time, that was a huge number.
It was huge. We said it's going to be a success, and it was. It really was.
Did it feel that you had to compromise in some ways to get this also, or no?
Well, we didn't feel we had to compromise, but Fred Lebo was really an operator, and he was trying anything to get publicity, and he would do things like go to the Playboy Bunny Club and recruit Playboy bunnies to come for a photo op. Now, that we didn't really like.
To promote the race.
Right.
Yeah.
But, we all said, look, Fred just wants the publicity.
Right.
However.
And if we get to run.
Yeah. When the gun went off, it was a serious race.
Switzer still has the T-shirt she wore in the inaugural race.
50 years later, I can still get into it.
And while the race no longer has its Crazy Legs designation, now the New York Mini 10K, there is still a nod to the original name, thanks to runners like Julianne Grace and her daughter Dee Dee Beck.
What a good boy. The best boy.
The two are Crazy Legs runners, meaning they have at least 15 New York Mini 10Ks under their belts.
What makes you go back year after year?
It's incredible, right? I think, just that feeling of sisterhood with all these other women runners, 5,000, 8,000 women out there.
Julianne has 45 finishes, missing just one after her first in 1975.
I was very nervous because I hadn't run 10 kilometers. And then during the race, I remember feeling I'm doing this. And I was 195th out of 276 finishers. I wasn't lost, so that was pretty good. And I felt so great. I felt I had done something remarkable.
Dee Dee then followed in her mother's footsteps and now has 42 straight finishes, despite a recent diagnosis of the muscle disease dystonia.
I can still participate with the crutches and, still be part of it.
Did you ever think this is too tough to do this with a disability like this?
No, I didn't. I ran it in 2019 with the dystonia and with, kind of tripping and stumbling and slowly, but I made it. And then 2020, it was canceled. And since I did it last year, I know I can do it this year.
After all, it's tradition. With Dee Dee's 3 daughters, a third generation in the family, also running each June.
Generationally, to pass something like this on, what does that mean to you?
It's hard to describe in words. To have my daughter follow along with something I love, and to have her daughters, my 3 granddaughters, to have these girls show up for the Mini. It makes me so proud. It makes me feel loved.
And ensures the impact of the New York Mini Marathon will live on.
It's not just about running. It's about what women have achieved since the 1970s. How much women have achieved in education, in careers, in athletics. It's about women's progress through the years. I mean, that's what it means to me in many ways. It really does. It's symbolic. I hope to do it every year I can. That's why I show up.
That is our show. I hope it brightened your day, lifted you up. I know it did for me. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to go look for some more good news. We'll see you next week.